Welcome to SMS Map Skills, custom videos to help you get the most out of your AgLeader SMS software, presented by AgTech GIS, the Canadian source for SMS support and training.
Once we have either imported or created a soil sampling event in SMS, our map may look something like this. We're waiting for the lab report to come, and we will merge the lab results into this map layer. To do that, we are going to go into the Edit layer. So either this Edit layer icon or right-click and Edit layer. This will open our soil test editing window, and it looks much the same as our previous window, with one exception. Over on the upper left-hand side, we have this thing called Data Grid. The data grid is basically the spreadsheet that is behind the map. In this case, we have soil sample IDs, 1 to 24, for this field, and as of yet, no soil sample results are populating this data grid. We are now ready to import our lab file. Most labs will provide you with a CSV or comma-separated values, very simple columnar file. And I'm going to show you an example of one right now. This particular lab import with the same numbers under sample ID of 1 to 24 is ready to be inserted or merged with our map file. The important thing to understand is that in any map and any lab file, there has to be one column of information. In this case, the lab calls it the sample column. In SMS, we call it the sample ID column. But the important thing to remember is we absolutely must have a column in each thing that is identical. 1 will link with 1, 2 with 2, and so forth. If the situation arises where we have inadvertently or the lab has assigned a different sample ID number, it will not link no matter what we do. This can't go into this unless there is a column of identical matching rows. If that happens, and I'll bring up another example here, if that happens, for instance, this particular lab might use a barcode. So sample number 1 has a whole bunch more digits in front of it, but each of these samples also corresponds to our map, but it will not link because we do not have an identical or a matching incoming file. So we have two choices. We could go to our map, and where sample number 1 is really this sample here, we could insert this number into our sample ID, editing our map so that the map ready to receive the lab file has the new identical numbers so that that match can happen. Now, sometimes it's easier to change the map. The map doesn't match the lab report, make the map match. Conversely, we could go into the CSV, and this would be simpler. It's easier to type 1, 2, 3, 4 than it is to add all of these, we'll say barcode numbers or whatever it might be. But if I go into my CSV and simply add all of the numbers that will correspond, then I will have a file that will match. Regardless of whether you have changed your map soil sample IDs to reflect what the lab has used as your numbers, or whether you have edited the CSV received from the lab so that it contains some matching soil sample numbers, in each case you must edit one and then save. Either edit the soil sample IDs in SMS and save, or edit your CSV and then resave that file. Once you have done that, you're ready for the import. So from this same editing window, with our possibly edited soil samples ready to receive the lab, we then go to File, Import Non-Spatial File, choose that lab file. It's recognizing it as a CSV with one header. We say OK, and we tell it which is the column that we're linking. In this case, it's which is the SMS column that's ready to receive or link. Next, and we have to make sure that we either associate, meaning first time in you have to assign each and every column to what SMS calls it. So the lab may call it pH, we call it soil pH, and so forth. Or if you've created that already and saved your template, you will load that template for that particular lab file, and you will notice that every column that I want to import is already linked. And so now when I say finish, my spreadsheet is now populated by those lab files. Again, I have to hit save to overwrite or to update my soil sampling information. I can then close. I'm back at my map, and by selecting every one of the soil sample attributes, I can now see the soil sample results from the lab. For more information, check out agtechgis.com or .ca for detailed documents, downloads, and archives of our favorite SMS mapping skills.